My name is Elena Ramirez, a 65-year-old widow living in the quiet suburbs of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The sun here bakes the earth into a rusty red, and the air carries the faint scent of pinyon pines from the nearby mountains. It's a place where life moves slow, like the lazy drift of clouds over the Sandia Peaks. My husband, Carlos, passed away a decade ago from a sudden heart attack, leaving me with our two sons, Marcus, the eldest, a dedicated civil engineer who's always buried in blueprints for bridges and roads, and Diego, the younger one, who's chased his dreams into the skies as a commercial pilot. Marcus lives with me in our modest two-story home, along with his wife, Camila, and their 7-year-old son, Lucas, a bundle of energy with curly hair and eyes that sparkle like the Rio Grande under moonlight. Our home is a sanctuary of faded adobe walls, filled with the echoes of family laughter and the aroma of homemade enchiladas. I've spent my days tending to the small garden out back, where rosemary and chili peppers thrive despite the arid soil, and helping Camila with the household chores. She's been the picture of perfection since she married Marcus 8 years ago, graceful, with long dark hair that cascades like a waterfall, and a smile that could light up the darkest New Mexico night. Camila came from a humble background in a small town near Santa Fe, but she adapted seamlessly to our family, cooking traditional meals, reading bedtime stories to Lucas, and even joining me for evening walks along the neighborhood paths lined with cottonwood trees. That morning started like any other. The golden light filtered through the kitchen curtains as I washed the breakfast dishes. Marcus had left early for a site inspection, his truck kicking up dust on the gravel driveway. Lucas, my clever little grandson, had bounded out the door to catch the school bus, his backpack slung over one shoulder. Camila had just headed upstairs, her voice drifting down like a gentle melody. "Elena, I'm hopping in the shower real quick. Be down soon." I smiled to myself, wiping my hands on a floral apron that Carlos had bought me years ago. The water started running overhead, a soothing hum that blended with the chirp of sparrows outside. I had just stacked the last plate when the landline rang, an old rotary phone we kept for nostalgia's sake. Drying my hands, I picked it up, expecting perhaps a neighbor or one of Marcus's colleagues. Instead, Diego's voice burst through, warm and vibrant as always. "Mom, just checking in. Got a layover in Dallas. Thought I'd say hi before we push back." Hearing Diego always wrapped me in comfort, like a favorite quilt. At 32, he was living his childhood fantasy, soaring above the clouds in sleek jets. We talk about his routes, the cities he'd seen, Paris 1 week, Tokyo the next. "How's the flight going, Mijo?" I asked, leaning against the counter. "Smooth as silk, Mom. But hey, something weird just happened." His tone shifted, laced with hesitation. "Is Camila at the house right now?" I glanced toward the stairs, where the shower was still running. "Of course she is. She's upstairs freshening up. Why do you ask?" There was a pause, long enough for me to hear the airport announcements in the background. Diego's breathing quickened. "Mom, that's impossible. I have her passport in my hands. She just boarded my flight to Paris." I chuckled, thinking it was one of his jokes. Diego had always been the prankster. "Oh, come on, Diego. You must have mixed her up with someone else. I saw Camila not 10 minutes ago, in her favorite beige blouse, the one with the lace trim." But he didn't laugh. His voice dropped to a whisper, urgent and serious.
"No, Mom.
Listen." After boarding wrapped up, I stepped out to grab some forgotten paperwork from the gate. Found this passport on the floor near the jet bridge. Thought I'd hand it to Lost and Found, but when I opened it, it's Camila's. Her photo, her name, everything.
No mistake."
My heart skipped a beat, but I pushed the unease away. "Are you sure? Passports can look similar. Maybe it's a coincidence." Diego sighed, frustration creeping in. I double-checked. Went back to the cabin, scanned first class. There she is, Mom, sitting next to some guy in a fancy suit, laughing like they're on a honeymoon. They're whispering, heads close together. It's her. The words hit like a gust of desert wind, knocking the breath out of me. Upstairs, The shower stopped with a groan of pipes. Footsteps padded across the floor.
Elena?
Everything okay down there? Camila called, her voice light and familiar. I jumped, clutching the phone tighter. Just a telemarketer. I lied, my voice cracking as I hurried into the pantry, closing the door behind me. Whispering now, I said to Diego. I just heard her. She's here, Diego. Right here in the house. You must be wrong. Mom. I'm staring at her seat from the galley. She's on this plane. Passport stamps match. Recent trips to Europe. This isn't a mix-up. His words hung heavy, a storm cloud over my sunny morning. I ended the call, hands trembling as I replaced the receiver. The kitchen felt smaller, the air thicker. Sinking into a chair, I stared at the tiled floor, patterns blurring through unshed tears. If Camila was on Diego's flight, who was upstairs? And if she was here, how could Diego have her passport? My mind raced, replaying every detail, her voice, her blouse, the way she hummed while climbing the stairs. It had to be her. But Diego wouldn't lie. He was my honest boy, the one who confessed to breaking vases as a child. Minutes later, Camila descended, her hair damp and curling, wearing a fresh sundress the color of summer sky. She smiled brightly. Elena, I'm heading to the farmer's market. Need anything? Maybe some fresh green chiles for tonight's stew. Her kindness was disarming, as always. I forced a nod. Yes, please. And some onions. As she grabbed her woven basket and stepped out, waving goodbye, I watched her silhouette fade down the path. Doubt gnawed at me like a persistent coyote. Diego's call replayed in my head, each word a thorn. The afternoon dragged on. Lucas burst in from school, full of stories about his art project, a drawing of a hot air balloon inspired by Albuquerque's famous fiesta. Look, abuela. Teacher said it's the best one. He thrust the paper at me, eyes wide with pride. I hugged him, inhaling his scent of crayons and playground dust. It's beautiful, mi amor. But as he chattered, my thoughts wandered. Lucas mentioned Camila helping with homework the night before, her neat handwriting guiding his letters. Mom's writing is so pretty, like yours. I nodded absently, but a seed of suspicion sprouted. Later, when our neighbor, Mrs. Patel, stopped by to return a borrowed casserole dish, she tilted her head curiously. Elena, your daughter-in-law is such a dear. But yesterday, she handed me this with her left hand. I thought she was right-handed, like you said. Odd, isn't it? I brushed it off with a laugh. Oh, she's ambidextrous sometimes. Practicing, I suppose. But inside, turmoil brewed. Camila had always been right-handed, stirring pots, signing cards, everything. As evening fell, the family gathered for dinner. Marcus kissed my cheek, complimenting the aroma of simmering pozole. Camila served plates with her usual grace, but I noticed her using her left hand to pour water. Marcus teased her lightly. Switching sides on us, love. She laughed it off. Just for fun. But her eyes flickered, a shadow passing over them. That night, sleep evaded me. I lay in bed, the ceiling fan whirring like my racing thoughts. Small inconsistencies piled up. Camila's mood swinging from affectionate to distant, her handwriting varying day to day, even the way she sang lullabies to Lucas, sometimes pitch-perfect, other times off-key. I dismissed them as stress or hormones. But Diego's call cracked that facade. The next morning, I confided in my old friend Maria over coffee at our favorite cafe downtown, where the scent of fresh tortillas mingled with espresso. Maria, with her silver-streaked hair and wise eyes, listened intently as I poured out the story, the call, the passport, the doubts. Elena, trust your instincts, she said, squeezing my hand. Women like us know when something's off.
Keep an eye out.
Documented, if you must. I nodded, pulling out a small notebook from my purse. That evening, I began jotting notes. Camila left for market at 10 a.m., right-handed today. Returned cheerful. But the next day, used left hand for chopping. Snapped at Lucas over spilled milk. Days blurred into a haze of observation. Lucas's innocent comments added fuel, Mom hugged me tight yesterday, but today she forgot my bedtime story. Mrs. Patel mentioned seeing Camila ignore a wave on the street, unlike her usual warmth. Even the baker downtown noted her varying demeanor, one day praising his sourdough, the next grabbing loaves without a word. Suspicion grew into a knot in my stomach. One afternoon, I followed Camila discreetly as she left for errands. She turned not toward the market, but into a shabby alley in the old barrio, knocking on a weathered door before vanishing inside. My heart pounded. I retreated, questions multiplying. Back home, Camila was already there, changed into different clothes. "Where were you?" she asked casually. "Just a walk," I mumbled, pulse racing. That night, my notebook filled with more entries, each one a step toward unraveling the mystery. Little did I know, the truth would shatter our world and rebuild it in unexpected ways. The days following Diego's unsettling phone call stretched like taut wires, ready to snap at the slightest pressure. I woke each morning with a heaviness in my chest, as if someone had placed a stone over my heart while I slept. The house that had always felt warm and safe now carried an undercurrent of strangeness, like a familiar song played just slightly off-key. I began watching Camila more closely, not out of malice, but out of a growing need to understand what my eyes and ears were telling me. Every gesture, every word, every small habit became a clue in a mystery I never asked to solve. I kept the little notebook hidden in the drawer of my nightstand, its pages filling slowly with observations that felt both ridiculous and terrifying. Monday morning, Camila left at 9:45 a.m. for a quick errand. Returned at 1:20 p.m. carrying a paper bag from the corner grocery. Used right hand to unpack groceries. Laughed easily with Lucas when he showed her his spelling test. Mood. Warm, affectionate. Tuesday afternoon. Camila announced she was going to meet a friend for coffee. Left at 2:10 p.m. in her cream cardigan and jeans. Returned at 5:50 p.m. wearing a different top, navy blue, long sleeves. Hair slightly damp, as if she'd showered somewhere else. Used left hand to stir soup on the stove. Snapped at Lucas when he asked for help with math homework. Do it yourself, I'm tired. Mood. Distant, irritable. I stared at those entries until the words blurred. The inconsistencies were small, almost dismissible on their own. But together, they formed a pattern too deliberate to ignore. One evening, Marcus came home earlier than usual. He found me in the kitchen, staring blankly at the notebook I hadn't closed in time. He raised an eyebrow. "Mom? What's that?" I hesitated, then slid the notebook toward him. "Just notes. About things I've noticed." He read silently, his expression shifting from curiosity to concern. When he finished, he closed the book gently. "Mom, are you okay? This sounds like paranoia." "I wish it was," I whispered. "But Diego called me again yesterday. He sent a photo from the plane." "Look." I pulled out my phone and showed him the grainy image Diego had texted. A woman in first class had turned slightly toward a well-dressed man beside her. The profile was unmistakable, Camila's high cheekbones, the way her hair fell just over her left ear. The timestamp read 2 days earlier, when Camila had supposedly been home folding laundry and helping Lucas build a Lego spaceship. Marcus stared at the photo for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost hollow. "This can't be her. She was here. I remember, she made arroz con leche that night. Lucas ate 2 bowls." "I know," I said softly. "That's what scares me most." We sat in silence until Lucas bounded in, asking for a snack. Marcus forced a smile, ruffled his son's hair, and sent him to the living room with a granola bar. Then he turned back to me. "What do we do, Mom?" "We watch. We wait. And we gather more proof. I don't want to accuse her without being sure. But we can't pretend this isn't happening." From that night on, Marcus began noticing things too. He caught Camila writing a grocery list with her left hand one morning, her handwriting looser, more looping than usual. When he commented on it, she laughed it off. "Trying to train my brain. They say it's good for memory." Another evening, she sang Cielito Lindo to Lucas at bedtime, the same lullaby I used to sing to Marcus and Diego when they were small. Her voice was sweet, almost perfect. But the next night, when Lucas asked her to sing again, she snapped, "Not tonight. I have a headache." Lucas's face crumpled. Marcus had to finish the bedtime routine, rocking his son until the tears stopped. The contradictions piled up like dry leaves before a storm. One Saturday, Camila announced she needed to run to the post office. She kissed Marcus goodbye, hugged Lucas, and left with her usual woven tote bag, the red one with embroidered flowers. I waited 10 minutes, then slipped out the back door, heart hammering. I kept my distance, staying on the opposite side of the street, using parked cars and jacaranda trees for cover. Camila walked briskly toward the main road, but instead of turning right toward the post office, she veered left into the older part of the neighborhood, where the houses were smaller, the paint more faded, the sidewalks cracked. She disappeared down a narrow alley lined with overflowing trash bins and rusted chain-link fences. I hesitated at the mouth of the alley, fear clawing at my throat. But something stronger, perhaps maternal instinct, perhaps stubborn love for my family, pushed me forward. I crept along the wall, staying in the shadows. At the end of the alley stood a small, single-story house with peeling turquoise paint and a crooked metal gate. Camila knocked twice, soft, deliberate. The door opened. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her. I stood frozen, breath shallow. Minutes passed.
10.
15. Then the door opened again. A woman stepped out, identical to Camila. Same height, same long dark hair, same graceful posture. She wore a simple gray dress and carried a small cloth bag. She looked around nervously, then hurried down the opposite end of the alley. My knees nearly buckled. I pressed my back against the rough adobe wall, trying to steady my breathing. 2 women. 2 Camilas. One had just left our home minutes earlier. The other had entered that house. I waited until the second woman was out of sight, then made my way home on shaking legs. When I slipped back through the back door, Camila, or whoever she was already in the kitchen, unpacking vegetables from the red tote bag. "You're back. Early," she said pleasantly. "I thought you were resting." "I needed fresh air. I managed." She smiled that perfect smile. "Good. Dinner will be ready soon." That night I couldn't eat. Every time I looked at her across the table, I saw 2 faces superimposed. The warm, loving daughter-in-law I'd cherished for years, and the stranger who had walked out of that alley house wearing the same skin. After everyone went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with my notebook and wrote the most chilling entry yet. 3:17 p.m., followed Camila to alley off Old Town Road. She entered house number 17. Another woman, exact double, emerged 18 minutes later. They are trading places. I stared at the words until they swam. Then I added one final line, the one that made my hand tremble as I wrote it. They are not the same person. The next morning, I called Diego again. This time I didn't whisper. I spoke clearly, urgently. "Diego, I need you to come home as soon as you can. Bring that passport copy. And any other proof you have." "Mom, what happened?" "I saw her. Both of them. There are 2 women who look exactly like Camila. One has been in our house. The other is somewhere else." Silence stretched across the line. "I'm booking the first flight I can get," he said finally. "I'll be there in 2 days." When I hung up, I felt both terror and strange relief. The secret was no longer mine alone to carry. But the real storm was still coming. That afternoon, Lucas came home from school quieter than usual. He sat at the table coloring while I peeled potatoes. After a long silence, he spoke in a small voice. "Abuela, sometimes Mommy loves me a lot. She plays with me and sings. But other times, she looks at me like I'm a stranger. Like, she doesn't know my name." I knelt beside him, brushing his curls back from his forehead. "I know, mi amor. I've seen it too." He looked up, eyes shining with unshed tears. "Will the nice mommy come back?" I pulled him into my arms, holding him tight. "I promise you," I whispered, though I had no right to make such a promise. "We're going to find out what's happening. And we're going to bring the love back into this house." He nodded against my shoulder. Outside, the sun dipped behind the sandias, painting the sky in shades of fire and blood. Inside, the shadows were lengthening, both literal and otherwise. 2 more days until Diego arrived. 2 more days until the truth could no longer hide. The 48 hours before Diego's arrival felt like walking on cracked glass, every step careful, every breath measured, afraid that one wrong move would shatter everything. I barely slept. When I did drift off, dreams came in fragments. 2 identical women standing side by side in my kitchen, one smiling warmly, while the other stared with cold, empty eyes. I would wake sweating, heart racing, and immediately check the notebook to reassure myself I hadn't imagined it all. Marcus grew quieter too. He no longer teased Camila about little things. Instead, he watched her the way one watches a stranger who has wandered too close to your children. Lucas sensed the tension like animals sense storms. He stopped asking Camila to play board games after dinner. He started coming straight to me or Marcus when he needed help with homework or wanted a story. The house felt smaller, colder, even though the New Mexico sun still poured through every window. Camila, or the woman wearing her face, seemed to notice the shift. She became overly cheerful, almost performative. She baked sopapillas from scratch one afternoon, filling the kitchen with cinnamon and honey. She hugged Lucas longer than usual, sang louder while washing dishes. But the gestures felt rehearsed, like lines delivered by an actor who had read the script once too many times. I kept following her when I could. On Wednesday, she said she was going to buy fabric for a school project costume Lucas needed. She left with the red tote again. This time I waited only 5 minutes before slipping out after her. She followed the same route, past the post office, past the little park with the broken swing set, then left into the narrow streets of the old barrio. I stayed farther back this time, using a wide-brimmed sun hat and sunglasses I hadn't worn in years. My legs ached from the fast walking, but adrenaline kept me moving. She stopped at the same turquoise house. Knocked twice. Door opened. She went in. I counted to 60 in my head, then crept closer. The front window had thin, yellowed curtains. Through a gap, I could see movement inside. 2 figures. One sitting, one standing. They were talking low, urgent. I couldn't hear words, only the rhythm of voices rising and falling. Then the standing figure moved toward the door. I ducked behind a rusted pickup truck parked across the street. The door opened. The woman who emerged wore Camila's face again, but her posture was different, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes darting nervously. She carried a small canvas bag and hurried away in the opposite direction, toward the bus stop on Central Avenue. I didn't follow her this time. Instead, I waited until the street was quiet, then walked straight to the turquoise house and knocked. 3 firm raps. Silence. I knocked again louder. Footsteps. The door cracked open an inch. A young woman peered out, same dark hair, same delicate features, but her eyes were wide with fear. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Elena Ramirez," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Marcus's mother. Camila's mother-in-law." The door opened wider. She stepped back, letting me in. The house smelled of menthol rub, old coffee, and something faintly metallic, medicine perhaps. A narrow hallway led to a small living room where an elderly woman lay on a worn couch, oxygen tubes under her nose. She was thin, skin like tissue paper. Beside her sat a small table cluttered with pill bottles. The young woman closed the door softly behind me. "My name is Sophia," she said. "Not Camila. Never Camila." I looked at her, really looked. The resemblance was uncanny. Same slightly upturned nose, same faint freckle just below the left eye, same long fingers. But the light in her eyes was different.
Softer. Sadder.
"You're twins," I said. It wasn't a question. Sophia nodded slowly. "How long?" I asked. 3 years, she answered. Maybe a little more. It started small. She would ask me to cover for her, just an hour here, 2 hours there. Said she needed time to breathe. Said her life was suffocating her. She paid me cash every time. Enough to buy Mama's medicine, enough to keep the lights on. I glanced at the elderly woman. She was watching us with cloudy eyes but didn't speak. And you agreed, I said. Sophia's shoulders slumped. I didn't have a choice at first. Mama's lungs, they're failing. The treatments are expensive. Camila knew that. She used it. Rage and pity warred inside me. I wanted to scream at this woman who looked so much like the daughter-in-law I had loved. But I also saw the exhaustion etched into her face, the way her hands trembled when she spoke. Did you know she was married? That she had a child? I asked. Sophia looked down at the cracked linoleum floor. At first, no. Later, yes. She told me not to ask questions. Just to smile, cook, play with the boy, act normal. She gave me scripts, little phrases to say if anyone noticed something off. I thought of Lucas calling her mommy on good days, of Marcus kissing her cheek, of me handing her recipes passed down from my own mother. And the man on the plane? I pressed. Sophia swallowed hard. His name is Victor Lang. He's wealthy. Travels a lot. Camila met him at some charity event 2 years ago. She started disappearing more often after that. Sometimes for days. She would call me at 3 in the morning. Sophia, I need you at the house by 6. Wear the beige dress. Don't forget to kiss Lucas goodnight. My stomach twisted. Does she love him? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Sophia gave a small, bitter laugh. She loves the life he gives her. The hotels, the restaurants, the gifts. She hates the rest, our small house, the bills, the routine. She told me once that being Camila Ramirez made her feel trapped, like she was living someone else's story. I sat down heavily on the only other chair in the room. The elderly woman reached out a frail hand. I took it instinctively.
I'm sorry, Sophia whispered.
I never wanted to hurt anyone, especially not the little boy. He's so sweet. He always hugged me like I was really his mom. Tears burned behind my eyes. You're not the one who should apologize, I said quietly. I stayed another 20 minutes. Sophia told me everything she could remember. Dates Camila had been gone, places she'd mentioned in passing, the way Victor always sent a black car to pick her up from a gas station 3 blocks away. When I finally stood to leave, Sophia touched my arm. Please don't tell her you found me. She'll stop the money. Mama will. I won't let your mother suffer, I said. But this ends soon. My son is coming home in 2 days. We're going to confront her. All of us. Sophia nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. I left the house feeling as though I had aged 10 years in half an hour. That night, I told Marcus everything. Every detail of the house, Sophia's story, Victor Lang's name. He listened in silence, fists clenched on the kitchen table. When I finished, he spoke only one sentence. I want my wife back. The real one. Whoever she is now, she's not Camila. I reached across the table and covered his hand with mine. We'll get the truth, I promised. And then we'll decide what comes next. The next morning, Camila left early, said she had a doctor's appointment. I didn't follow her this time. Instead, I sat with Lucas on the back patio while he drew pictures of airplanes for his uncle Diego. Abuela, he said suddenly, not looking up from his crayons. Why does Mommy have 2 voices? I froze. 2 voices. I echoed softly. He nodded. Sometimes she talks soft and sweet, like when she reads me stories. Other times her voice gets sharp, like when the teacher yells at recess. I don't like the sharp voice. I pulled him onto my lap and held him close. Tomorrow Uncle Diego comes home. I whispered into his curls. We're going to fix everything, mi amor. I promise. He nodded against my chest. Outside, a roadrunner darted across the yard, quick and fearless. I watched it disappear into the brush, wishing I could borrow some of its certainty. Tomorrow, Diego would arrive with the passport evidence. Tomorrow, the masquerade would end. And whatever came after, we would face it together. Diego's flight landed at Albuquerque International Sunport just after noon on Friday. I picked him up alone. Marcus stayed home with Lucas, keeping things as normal as possible while the storm gathered strength. When Diego stepped through the arrival's gate, he looked older than his 32 years. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his pilot's uniform, usually worn with easy pride, seemed to hang heavier on his shoulders. He hugged me fiercely the moment he saw me. "Mom," he said into my hair, "tell me I'm not crazy." "You're not," I whispered back. "None of us are." In the car on the way home, I told him everything Sophia had revealed. The payments, the script lines, Victor Lang's name, the black car that picked Camila up from the gas station on Central. Diego listened without interrupting, knuckles white on the steering wheel. When I finished, he said only one thing. "I brought copies of everything. Passport scans, boarding records, even a security photo from the gate camera in Dallas. It's her. No question." We drove the rest of the way in silence. The Sandia Mountains. Rose pink and jagged against the sky, indifferent to the fracture happening below them. When we pulled into the driveway, Marcus was waiting on the porch. Lucas was inside watching cartoons. Marcus had made sure he wouldn't hear what was coming. The three of us stood together for a long moment, a silent triangle of shared dread and determination. Inside, Camila was in the kitchen chopping onions for pozole. She looked up when we entered, surprise flickering across her face. "Diego, you're early. I didn't expect." She stopped when she saw the expressions on our faces. The knife paused mid-chop. Marcus spoke first, voice low and steady. "Sit down, Camila. We need to talk." She wiped her hands on a dish towel, movement slow, almost reluctant. "What is this about?" Diego set a manila envelope on the table with deliberate care. "This is about the woman who boarded my flight to Paris 3 weeks ago, using your passport." Camila's eyes darted to the envelope, then back to us. "That's impossible. I was here." "Were you?" I asked quietly. "Or was it Sophia?" The name hit like a slap. Camila's face drained of color. "Who?" "Don't," Marcus said sharply. "Don't insult us by pretending. We know about the house in the old barrio. We know about your twin sister. We know about Victor Lang." For a heartbeat, the room was perfectly still. Even the refrigerator seemed to hold its breath. Then Camila laughed, a short, brittle sound. "You've all lost your minds." Diego opened the envelope and slid the photos across the table. The gate camera still of Camila smiling at the first-class attendant, the passport scan with entry stamps for France, Italy, Dubai, all dates when she had supposedly been home folding laundry, attending Lucas's soccer games, cooking family dinners. Camila stared at the images. Her hands began to tremble. Marcus leaned forward. "Tell me the truth.
Right now.
Or I swear I will take Lucas and walk out that door and never look back." Tears welled in her eyes. Real ones. Or, at least they appeared to be. I never meant for it to go this far." The confession came in pieces, halting and jagged. She had met Victor at a fundraising gala for a children's hospital 2.5 years earlier. He was charming, wealthy, unattached. He made her feel seen in a way she said she hadn't felt since before Lucas was born. The attention was intoxicating. The gifts, the trips, the whispered promises of a different life. They were everything our modest existence could never be. At first, the absences were short. A weekend in Santa Fe. A girl's trip to Las Vegas. She needed someone to cover for her at home, and when she discovered Sophia, her identical twin, given up at birth because their impoverished parents could only keep one, she saw opportunity. She approached Sophia cautiously, offered money for medicine, offered a way out of poverty. Sophia, desperate and loyal in her own broken way, agreed. "It was supposed to be temporary," Camila whispered, "just until I figured things out. But Victor, he kept asking for more time, more trips, more of me, and the money kept coming. Sophia needed it. I needed it. You needed it?" Marcus's voice cracked. "You had a home, a husband, a son who thinks the sun rises and sets because you walk into the room, and you traded that for hotel suites and fancy dinners." Camila looked at him, eyes pleading. "I love you, Marcus. I do. But I was drowning. Every day the same, diapers, bills, soccer practice, PTA meetings. I felt like I was disappearing. Victor saw me. He wanted me." Marcus stood up, so fast the chair scraped the floor. He wanted the version of you that didn't include us. Camila reached for him. He stepped back. I never wanted to hurt Lucas, she said, voice breaking. That's why I made Sophia be extra sweet on the bad days. So he wouldn't notice. I felt sick. You used your own sister to lie to your child. Camila covered her face with her hands. I know. God, I know. Diego spoke next, voice cold. Where is she now? Sophia? Camila shook her head. I don't know. She stopped answering my calls 2 weeks ago. Said she couldn't do it anymore. Marcus looked at me. Mom, I nodded. She's still in the little house on the east side. Her mother is very sick. Sophia never stopped caring for her. Camila's head snapped up. You've met her? I have, I said. She's kind, gentle. She loves Lucas like he's her own. And she hates what you made her do. Silence fell again, heavier this time. Marcus finally spoke. I want a divorce. Camila flinched as though he'd struck her. Marcus, please. No, his voice was steel. You made your choice. Live with it. He turned to Diego and me. I'm taking Lucas to the park for a while. When I come back, I want her gone. He walked out without another word. Camila looked at me, tears streaming.
Elena, I'm sorry.
I stood up slowly. Sorry isn't enough. Not for what you've done to my son. To my grandson. To your own blood. I left her sitting alone at the kitchen table, the pozole still simmering on the stove. That evening, after Lucas was asleep, Marcus packed a suitcase for Camila. Not angrily, methodically. Clothes, toiletries, the few pieces of jewelry that were hers before the marriage. He placed it by the front door. When she came downstairs with her own bag, she looked smaller somehow. Diminished. I'll send for the rest later, she said quietly. Marcus didn't answer. She paused at the door, looking back at the three of us. Tell Lucas, tell him Mommy had to go away for work. Tell him I love him. Diego stepped forward.
No.
When he's old enough, we'll tell him the truth. He deserves that much. Camila's lip trembled. Then she opened the door and stepped into the night. A black car waited at the curb, same one Sophia had described. She got in without looking back. The taillights disappeared down the street. Inside, Marcus sank onto the couch and buried his face in his hands. Diego sat beside him. I knelt in front of them both and took their hands. We're still here, I said. All of us. Together. Marcus looked up, eyes red. What about Lucas? We'll protect him, I said. And we'll heal. One day at a time. Diego nodded. And Sophia? I took a deep breath. Tomorrow, I said, I'm going back to that house. I'm going to bring her here. Not to replace Camila, but to give her and her mother the help they need. And maybe she can be part of this family in her own way. Marcus wiped his eyes. She loves him. I saw it in the way she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. Diego squeezed his brother's shoulder. Then let's start there. Outside, the moon rose over the Sandias, calm and silver. Inside, for the first time in weeks, the house felt like it could breathe again. The masquerade was over. The real healing was just beginning. The morning after Camila left felt strangely quiet, as though the house itself were holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Lucas woke up early and padded into the kitchen in his dinosaur pajamas. He looked around with sleepy confusion. Where's Mommy? Marcus knelt down to his level, voice gentle but steady. Mommy had to go away for a while, Mijo. She's going to be gone for a long time. Lucas's lower lip trembled. Did I do something bad?
No, baby. No.
Marcus pulled him close. You did everything right. This is about grown-up things. But Abuela, Uncle Diego, and I were all here. And we're not going anywhere. Lucas buried his face in Marcus's shoulder for a long moment. Then he looked up. Can we still make pancakes? The ones with the smiley faces? Marcus smiled through the pain in his eyes. Of course we can. We spent that Saturday making pancakes, playing board games, and watching old cartoons. Normal things. Safe things. Every laugh Lucas gave felt like a small victory. On Sunday morning, I drove back to the little turquoise house alone. Sophia opened the door before I even knocked. She looked exhausted, but not afraid. "I thought you might come," she said quietly. I stepped inside. The elderly woman, her adoptive mother, was sitting up today, propped against pillows. Color had returned to her cheeks, faint but real. "I brought groceries," I said, setting down 2 heavy bags. "And medicine. The pharmacist said these are what she needs next month." Sophia's eyes filled. "You didn't have to. I wanted to. And there's more." I told her about Camila's departure, about Marcus's decision, about Lucas. Sophia listened without speaking. When I finished, she wiped her eyes. "I never wanted to take her place. I just wanted to stop lying." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm here. Not to replace anyone, but to ask if you'd like to be part of our lives honestly."
No pretending. No scripts.
"Just you." She looked toward the bedroom where her mother was resting. "Mama needs care. I can't leave her alone for long. Then bring her with you sometimes. Or we'll come here. Or we'll find help. Nurses, home aides. Whatever it takes." Sophia stared at me like she couldn't believe the words were real. "Why would you do that? After everything?" "Because you're family," I said simply. "Whether you knew it or not. You're Lucas's aunt. And blood matters, even when it's complicated." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I'd like that," she whispered. "Very much." The first time Sophia came to the house was the following weekend. She arrived carrying a small bouquet of sunflowers, Lucas's favorite, and a tin of homemade biscochos. Her mother stayed home with a visiting nurse we'd arranged, but Sophia promised to bring her next time. Lucas opened the door. His eyes went wide. "Mommy?" Sophia knelt down immediately.
No, sweetheart. I'm Sofa.
"I look like your mommy, but I'm your tia, your aunt. I used to come play with you sometimes when mommy was busy. Do you remember?" Lucas studied her face carefully. Then he nodded slowly. "You sang me Cielito Lindo better than mommy did sometimes." Sophia laughed softly. "I love that song. My mama taught it to me when I was little." Lucas reached out and touched her cheek, as if making sure she was real. "You're not going to yell at me today?" Sophia's breath caught. "Never," she promised. "Not ever." Lucas threw his arms around her neck. Sophia hugged him back, tears falling into his hair. Marcus watched from the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. But when Sophia looked up at him, he gave a small nod. "Come in," he said. "We made extra empanadas." That first visit lasted all afternoon. Sophia helped Lucas with his homework, patiently, gently. She laughed at his jokes. She didn't once use her phone or glance at the clock. When it was time for her to leave, Lucas clung to her leg. "Can you come tomorrow?" Sophia looked at Marcus. He cleared his throat. "How about next Saturday? We'll go to the balloon fiesta park. Watch the morning glow." Lucas jumped up and down. Sophia smiled through fresh tears. "I'd love that." Weeks turned into months. Sophia became a steady presence, never pushing, never pretending to be someone she wasn't. She brought her mother over on sunny days. The old woman sat on the porch wrapped in blankets, watching Lucas chase butterflies in the yard. Marcus healed slowly. Some nights he still sat alone on the back patio long after everyone else was asleep, staring at the stars. But the silences grew shorter. The smiles came easier. One evening in early spring, when the cottonwoods were shedding their fluff like snow, Marcus asked Sophia to stay for dinner after Lucas went to bed. They sat at the kitchen table with cups of café de olla. Diego had flown in for the weekend and was upstairs reading Lucas's story. Marcus looked at Sophia across the steam rising from his mug. "I don't know how to say this without sounding wrong," he began. Sophia waited, hands folded in her lap. "I loved Camila once. Maybe part of me always will. But the person I mourn isn't here anymore. And the person who's been here these last months, you, is someone different. Someone kind. Someone real." Sophia's eyes shimmered. "I never expected anything, Marcus. I just wanted to do right by Lucas." By all of you. I know. He reached across the table and covered her hand with his. But I'm asking now. Not out of gratitude. Not out of loneliness. Because I see you. And I want to keep seeing you. If you'll let me. Sophia turned her hand over, so their palms met. I'd like that, she said softly. Very much. They didn't rush. There were walks in the Bosque del Apache, picnics by the Rio Grande, quiet evenings on the porch swing while Lucas slept inside. And one clear October morning, under a sky full of hot air balloons rising like bright dreams, Marcus got down on one knee in the grass while Lucas cheered and Diego wiped his eyes behind aviator sunglasses. Sophia said yes through happy tears. The wedding was small, just family, a few close friends, and Sophia's mother in the front row, breathing easier now thanks to better care. Lucas wore a tiny suit and carried the rings on a pillow. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Lucas piped up. I object if Tia Sophia doesn't get to be my new mommy. Everyone laughed. Even Sophia's mother smiled from her wheelchair. After the vows, Marcus lifted Lucas onto his hip and pulled Sophia close. Family, he said simply. I stood off to the side, watching them, my heart so full it hurt. Later that night, after the last guest left and Lucas was tucked in with his new storybook from Aunt Sophia, I sat on the porch with a cup of chamomile tea. The air smelled of pinyon smoke and possibility. Marcus came out and sat beside me. You okay, Mom? I nodded. More than okay. He looked up at the stars. You saved us, you know. When I couldn't see the way forward, you kept looking. I reached over and squeezed his hand. We saved each other. All of us. Inside, Sophia was humming Cielito Lindo while she washed the last of the dishes. Lucas's soft snores drifted down the hall. Diego had already left for the airport, promising to be back for Christmas. The house felt full again, not of secrets, but of honest, hard-won love. I thought of the woman who had walked out our door months ago, carrying her suitcase and her choices. I didn't hate her anymore. I pitied her, because in trying to escape one life, she had lost the chance to live two beautiful ones, the one she had here and the one she could have built with a sister she never truly knew. But we, Marcus, Lucas, Sophia, Diego, and I, had chosen differently. We had chosen truth. And truth, as my Carlos used to say, always makes room for light. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and share it with your friends.